I don't remember when my mother told me that she had been sexually assaulted when she was a child. I must have known for years. I once overheard a hushed phone conversation I shouldn't have, and the way she opened the birds and the bees conversation with the primer on consent, rather than the standard when a mommy and a daddy love each other very much, must have been a clue. And when I was raped as a teenager, I distinctly remember thinking, among the other feelings and ideas and pains swirling around my brain, well, like mother, like daughter. So when, over the last month, literally hundreds of women come forward with stories of sexual harassment and sexual assault, as they did when they alleged that producer Harvey Weinstein and director James Toback and Mark Halperin had done terrible things to them, it felt familiar. As Kelsey McKinney wrote in The Village Voice, almost every single woman I know has been the victim of sexual assault. Me, too. Ask a woman to think back, and she'll likely have a story. Men, too, because men are sexually assaulted as well, and are discouraged from talking about it. We're all getting a little braver, a little stronger, our voices clearer when we talk about what we have endured. And the stories that were inspired by the bravery of the women who came forward to bring Weinstein down, will likely keep coming. 85-year-old Rita Moreno recalled a studio head who harassed her when she was 19. You can get over that, the 85-year-old told an event in Hollywood on October 12. Tippi Hedren, the now 87-year-old actress famous for her role in The Birds, did, too, recounting to Twitter how Hitchcock allegedly promised Head ruin her career, so she told him to do what he had to do. The stories are everywhere, but they are often shared years after statutes of limitations render it impossible to press charges. It is a bond that nobody asked for, to know that we are all walking around with these heavy burdens and these boundaries and frayed edges. Still, there is also a bittersweet solace in that bond because someone else knows how you feel, and the weight you never asked to bear. I am open with other people about what happened to me, mostly women. I have found that, more often than not, they will nod and they will know. Part of the reason why so many people came forward all at once is that there is strength in numbers. Our society is still primed not to listen to one woman who says she was assaulted, and the system that is supposed to seek justice for her can be invasive, violating, and demoralizing. But when 10, or 30, or 50 women come forward with separate and similar stories, something shifts. People listen. Some beg ignorance. Others apologize for the same ignorance. But people listen now, to these dozens of survivors who have been trying to tell their stories for years. The numbers, of course, have never been small. According to RAINN, 1 in 6 women has been a victim of an attempted or completed rape. A 2015 study found that 1 in 3 women has been the target of workplace sexual harassment. And when we do try to save each other, to gather and whisper and share what we know and what has been difficult to know, those attempts are often hijacked or thwarted. The means are critiqued and the participants are scrutinized. So, for a long time, we kept these stories to ourselves, whether for fear of ruining the careers we had to work so hard at creating, or simply because we didn't think anyone would believe us. Part why so many people came forward all at once is that there is strength in numbers. Our society is still primed not to listen to one woman who says she was assaulted. I waited 7 years after my first sexual assault to tell anyone what had happened to me. And even after I said something, I was afraid people would treat me differently. Damaged goods, you know. That fear kept me in a toxic relationship for the better part of a decade because I believed, well, I've told one guy, and he didn't really judge me for it. I dreaded needing to have that conversation all over again. Hey, if I get weird around you, it's because, and yet, I am open with other people about what happened to me, mostly women, because I have found that more often than not, they will nod and they will know. It breaks my heart every time they did. https twitter.com Amanda Amel status 9178696531537346557. It sometimes feels as though the 7 years of silence are a wink in comparison to the decades endured by the countless survivors who were abused within Hollywood's cruel systems, whether by Weinstein or, more recently brought to light by James Toback, or any other powerful figureheads we simply haven't heard about yet, for that matter. In Moreno's case, other people knew she protected herself with roommates and with friends, yet there was little she could do until her harasser gave up. And there are people like Dylan Farrow, whose allegations are widely known, yet it doesn't quite seem possible to do anything beyond hold celebrities accountable when they work with individuals like Woody Allen. But there are also the people who have stayed silent, for whatever reason, all of which are valid. And that is not their fault. It is just as brave to wake up every day and simply get through life as it is to shout what happened to you from the top of the mountains or tweet it, I guess. People should not feel like they need to disclose their trauma to find comfort. You shouldn't have to claim your status as a survivor as a basis for being against sexual violence, because you shouldn't have to be a survivor to be against it. Expecting every victim to speak up, then, misses the point. It's not simply that we're looking for justice, we're looking for this violence against us to stop altogether. In past years, how we talk about things have changed. Maybe that's due in part to social media, whose very nature compels us to talk about every small and large thing that happened to us on any given day. We talk about depression now, and periods, and debt, and inequality in the workplace and how to combat it. Conversations that my mother used to call unladylike are common Instagram captions now. We know that in order to make the dark things a little less dark, we have to bring them to light. And this month, in particular, has been a moment for how we talk about sexual harassment and assault. There was another moment when the Cosby allegations surfaced en masse, and when the footage of Trump bragging about grabbing pussy circulated. Of course, a darker moment occurred when that same man was elected president. Weinstein was fired. Ailes was fired. Cosby has been disgraced. But Clarence Thomas, who harassed Anita Hill, sits on the Supreme Court. Rock Turner served 3 of the 6 months he was sentenced to prison. Men are still viewing assault in terms of if I had a daughter, a metric of possession and patriarchy. Now, we are quicker to hold people accountable for their actions. Now, we are more likely to believe people when they say something bad happened to them, and growing less and less likely to wonder if they deserved it in some way. But there is still more work to do. There always is. The work will not just be necessary so that people aren't afraid to disclose their most painful traumas to the world at large, but so they are not afraid that enduring these horrors is an inevitability, to begin with. So that my mother doesn't have to whisper, and women like Hedron don't have to choose between the careers or their personhood. So that if I ever have a child, they don't think, well, it happened to my mom, so I guess it will happen to me, too. It shouldn't happen to them. It shouldn't have ever happened to anyone. Follow Ella on Twitter.